What would the Breakfast Club be doing today? Did you ever wonder this? I think a lot of my Gen X generation wonder, but what would those kids be doing today? My name is Jeffrey Luscombe. I'm the author of Shirts and Skins and To Refrain from Embracing, two books about growing up Gen X in the 70s and 80s and beyond, and what it was like to grow up feral, ignored, and all that. That's what have I been called? I've been called the Gen X Bard. I've been called the Huffington Post called me fiction's brightest new star, but I don't let that go to my head because sometimes I let it go to my head, but then like your friends bring you down. Now you think you're so great. That's what your old Gen X pals will do that to you, right? They'll knock you the f down. Get down, you son of a. Okay, but yeah, what do you think these Breakfast Club kids would be doing today? I remember I saw the Breakfast Club in 1985, like the week it came out. Me and some friends all went down to the Center Mall in East Hamilton. I don't think it's there anymore. And we watched it. And I'll tell you, when it first came out, people tell you different things, and they're like, but I'll tell you, it was pretty much ignored. Like I remember watching like sneak previews with Siskel and Ebert, and they just dismissed it as a bunch of whiny kids, right? Uh, and they ignored it, just like they ignored our generation. Like, let's be honest, like we were like no one, no. We don't put no one put any thought into us into Gen X. They just like let us go, um, and we pretty much did what we wanted. And but it really hit home for a lot of us seeing these kids, these five kids who didn't know each other, and that's really what it was. If you saw Square Pegs, if you're that old, and like the girl says, it all breaks down to clicks, right? And if you click with the right click, you got it made. And that's what your clicks had. You had the bangers, the head bangers, you had the rockers. No, that was more like me. You had the preppies, and yeah, you had the punks. You had the athletic kids, and this was kind of like high school. I have no idea what it's like today, and I don't think I care to know. I really couldn't care less. I don't find kids that interesting. I don't find young people interesting. I don't find their stories interesting. Uh, so but for us, for Gen X, this is the way it worked with clicks, and that's why I think I think that Breakfast Club resonated with us. Um, and I think we sort of saw ourselves in most of them, but maybe we identified more with one, as I did. So what do you think these kids would be doing today? Like Claire would be in her mid 50s, and the Molly Ringwald character, and like she would have been married once or twice, and she loved, and I'm sure she would love her. I'm sure she married well, has some money, has one of those McMansions somewhere outside of Chicago. A couple of kids, drinks probably more than she should. She's one of those wine mommies. Maybe she does a little TikTok on the best wines with her girlfriends and has a book club and that sort of thing. But I kind of think that's where she'd be, like sort of like the tipsy, empty nest mom. uh, really didn't who maybe didn't reach her full potential because of what was expected of her. I feel free to like throw in your own ideas here. I'm just making this up as I go along. And Andrew, yeah, he would have went, with the guy who's probably at the Chicago Bears games, maybe has season tickets. His dad was working class. He probably did a little better if he got a scholarship. Um, Another family, a smaller house than Claire, but yeah, most of the athletic kids that I knew did okay. They really had like sort of a get up and go, and some gumption, even if they didn't have a lot of brains behind them. But some of them did have brains, but like even if they didn't, they seemed to have done okay. But you know what? A lot of Gen X did okay. That's what a lot of people won't tell you. Like even the people who shouldn't have, who really didn't have a lot of brains, didn't have a lot of talent, they did well just because there was like so many jobs. when we came up. And I've told the story before. I got my first job in like 5 minutes. I just walked into a youth employment agency and I said, I want a job. And they said, okay, how about this one, this one, this one? And I said, hey, that one sounds interesting. I drove over and 10 minutes later, I had the job working in a gas station car wash. It was as simple as that. So, if it wasn't difficult to get work, and we probably bought houses in our 20s, so it wasn't that hard to do well. Brian, Anthony Michael Hall would have done the best financially, I think. As an engineer, probably worked his way up, did very well and very good manufacturing or technology based things. Probably has the most money that he's made, um, and probably still is a little dorky. Um, Maybe still plays Dungeons and Dragons. I know that type because I was a computer programmer for a lot of years, and yeah, they did well, but still a little dorky and had a family and had a nice life, and I think that's what happened. Allison probably grew out of her looniness. That was one of the things when she said, I don't even know if it was true because she was talking about her shrink in it. But like as if any of us went to shrinks. I don't know. Maybe you grew up in a better social bracket than we did. But although a lot of us had, some problems, some trauma, no one ever saw it. Maybe you had a guidance counselor was the most you ever saw. That I had to go down a few times for falling asleep in class and some other problems that I was having. Yeah, my guidance counselor was as much counseling as I ever got. But I think Allison probably got some counseling, got rid of the black makeup, grew up a little, probably went to community college, met somebody, and is just living a normal life, maybe doing some art on the side. Now, John was the one that I kind of, John Bender was the one I sort of identified with the most, believe it or not. I was. Um, that rockin' headbanging, mouthy. I was a little mouthy in high school. Like I admit it. Like, and I was in like in my day we went to school and by the time we got to high school, we never had real problem kids because the time we got to high school, either they were sort of exited into vocational schools, and then when we were in high school, you were put into either basic, general, or advanced, and I was put into advanced. So you only really saw, you know, people who were going to college or people who were off to university. You're in this track, and that's where you were. I think they got rid of it, and they just didn't think it was right or something. I don't know. I don't know about that, but I'd say when I went, I was like in advance, so I hung around with like the people who were bound for university. But I had a mouth on me. Like I put some teachers through it, and like I know even looking back that I could be a real ass as a kid. And I put a lot of that. I would go back to and my journals at this time were so angry and full of angst, and I went back and I read them when I was writing my first novel, Shirts and Skins, because it goes through a kid's a boy growing up. It's a children's roman about a Gen X kid, gay, growing up in like a working class part of Hamilton. And so I went back to these journals and went, whoa, this, I was angry. And I just a little, lashing out a bit. So I went back when I was writing it and I read that and I put a lot into the high school called Death and Family, the high school chapter of Shirts and Skins, where I just put in this mouthy little, which was based a bit on me. Nothing that happened in there actually happened, but I meant like the feelings and the angst. Yeah, I identified with John from the Breakfast Club. So when I think what John will be doing today, I think he's a writer. That's very natural to me. Maybe a lot of people don't. To With all of this, because he grew up working class as well, very angry. I think that he had some talent there. That may have been that trauma could have been focused and put into art. And I think if anyone was going to write about that, I know it was Brian at the end, like who wrote that. Call us the princess and the jock, the basket case. But I think when the story is told, I think that it would be John who would have told and probably looks back on it with some sadness and shame of, sorry, Addie. he treated Claire and that sort of thing. But that's just my opinion of maybe where these kids are today. John is the writer, but that probably comes from my own story that I transpose onto this character from 1985. But let me know, what do you think these kids will be doing today? I think they'd all be relatively happy because you know what? Most of my friends, the Gen X kids, even the ones who had problems, even the ones who went through trauma, and a lot of us went through trauma. I won't say all of us, but it was all of us went through trauma. Um, did okay with what we had, and we seem to be doing well now as we really haven't changed much since 1985. No matter where our lives took us. So, if you're looking for literary fiction, um, what did the Spectator call me? Broke ass realism. If you want to know about sort of the of mice and men, gritty part of what it was like growing up, Gen X in a working class town, actually in the factories, the dangers that came with growing up Gen X in a working class town. My novels, Shirts and Skins, which is the buildings from on, and To Refrain from Embracing, which is all set in the summer of 1977, was an amazing year, if anyone remembers 1977 besides me. I know a few of you do, but that'll bring back some memories to refrain from embracing if you're interested. So that's it for me. I'm just curious. Let me know what you think these uh, these kids would be doing today. So again, would be doing time or divorced 5 times. Uh, Maybe Allison is still doing some type of poetry slam somewhere. you know, did Claire finally discover her? She was really down deep a lesbian and ran off with ran off with Allison. I don't know, but it's fun to think about. And as you know, as Gen X, I think a lot of us do that. Oh, where would they be now? But let me know. So I think that's it for me. For my podcast, the Jeffrey Luscombe podcast, thank you for joining me this week with this in-depth look at the Breakfast Club uh, from 1985 that Siskel and Ebert didn't like, and neither did anybody else. But now they all pretend that they loved it because they didn't. Like us, they just ignored us when we were young too. But now they all pretend that they liked us. So that's it for me. Thank you very much, and and if any of you are Canadian out there, I hope you all had a great Thanksgiving. It was our Thanksgiving yesterday. Put some stuff up on TikTok about it. If you're interested, you can find my TikTok out there as well. So have a good day. Thank you.